All right. It is just after 6 o'clock. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Thanks, everybody, for joining us tonight, whether it be in person or on Zoom. We're gonna kick it off by having our village president do our introduction. So, John, you go ahead.
Thank you. So I see we have the fire chief in the back, and I think that means we probably have too many people in this room, so happy you are going to have. Great to have you. So my name is John Heller, village president. Welcome to the Highway 42 project review. I'm going to introduce the presenters and then fade into the background as a nonverbal moderator. So just a couple of quick things. If you have any particular questions regarding your property, please save those till after the presentation. And Megan, Mike, myself can probably help you out with any specific questions that you have. If you do have questions pertaining to the overall project, obviously they will be entertained after the presentation. So let me introduce Megan Sawyer, our village administrator, and Mike Simon, the project engineer from McMahon Construction. Mike has been a fixture up in Door County probably for the last 5 years. And I think we should be providing lodging and an office for him. We have from Wisconsin Public Service, and when we get to that point, the people from Wisconsin Public Service can get up and make their comments. Ben Risch, who's a project supervisor. Tom Gorell, design specialist, and Ken Marquardt, energy services representative. And we also have Tom Wolf, our horticulturist, who again is probably not going to make any statements during the presentation, but is available after the meeting to entertain any questions that you might have. So Madison Deason is going to be responsible for managing the online participants. So I'll turn it over to Megan, and Megan and Mike can go through all the particulars. We're good.
It's over.
It was only I thought you were supposed to.
Yeah. Okay, you have a seat.
Sit on my head.
Yes.
Okay. There I go.
All right, so thanks everybody for joining us. Typically we do like to have these types of meetings across the street at our other facility. Obviously, we have a much more robust system over there. There's a private event over there and a lot of private events over there over the course of the next few weeks. So we're stuck over here, but that's okay. We made it work. So thanks for bearing with us in terms of technology, but we have a setup here to hopefully get you what you need. So tonight's review is going to include a review of the project elements, a review of the project timelines, a review of the formal detours, some alternate access routes we'll have in place during construction and signage, a review of property accessibility throughout construction, as well as some other special provisions that you'll want to know about if you're on the construction route, and then other information on where to find more information as we get closer to construction and as we move through construction. So again, thanks for joining us tonight. A couple things housekeeping wise before we get into it. Tonight's meeting is a hybrid meeting. We have all of you here in person, and then we have participants that are virtual with us via Zoom as well. Those joining us via Zoom, please stay muted until the conclusion of the presentation. As John mentioned, we will take questions at the end. If you're on Zoom, please use either the raise hand feature or chat.
One red potato, do you want that?
Those wishing to speak, please just state your name and what your address is, and we'll take obviously questions from here in person as well. Specific property questions, as John mentioned, should be directed to either myself, Mike, or John, Tom if they're tree related. We can help you out with those after the meeting. If you don't have time to stick around tonight, feel free to reach out to me and I can direct your question appropriately. I'm here in this building Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. You can also give me a call or send me an email. Happy to get you any information you're looking for. My email is up there on the screen, also on our village website, and my cards are just outside of the office door if you want to get my information before you leave. Meeting recording of tonight's meeting. The meeting is being recorded, so you can refer back to it. Will be posted on our village website. And the presentation from tonight will be posted on there as well. So if there's any information on the slides that you're looking for to refer back to after tonight, you'll be able to find that on the village website. We have a whole page dedicated to the Highway 42 project. So it's villagevagharbor.org/HW42. All right, so just want to go through what the project entails a little bit before we get into timelines and all the good information on construction. There are 3 project sections and I'll review all 3 of those in a little detail here in a minute. But I just wanted to call out that the village did receive $3.6 million of grant funding for this project. That's through 3 different grant programs. The first being $1.38 million that was awarded through the Transportation Alternative Project Program. That is for segment 1 and segment 2 of the project. Second being $1.74 million that was awarded through the Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Project Program. That is for the core project section. And then just over $550,000 for the core lighting that's through the carbon reduction program. All right, so a little bit more detail on what each of these project sections entail. First is section 1 of the TAP project section. That runs from approximately South Trail to Harbor School. This includes urbanizing the highway on the west side to South Trail and east side to Ballpark Road. We'll be constructing a 5-foot concrete sidewalk and a 6-foot green terrace. There'll be on-street bike lanes in this section, street lighting, and there'll be some utility replacement and relocation completed by WPS as well. And that's not quite underway in this section, I don't believe, but coming up. So here's a cross section of what that project section will look like at the end of construction. Again, you can see the 5-foot terrace or 5-foot sidewalk and the 6-foot terrace with the bike lanes. Moving north, the next project section is from Harbor School Road to County Highway E. This is what we refer to as the core project section. This includes a 5-foot sidewalk on both sides of the road, a 4.5-foot concrete terrace between the sidewalk and back of curb. And there's a brick paver accent in the terrace as well. There's 8-foot parking lanes, bike accommodations throughout this project section. There'll be a dedicated 2-way left turn lane from approximately the County Highway G intersection to approximately the White Cliff Road intersection. This project section includes utility line burial, and it also includes the urbanization of County Highway E on the west side with sidewalk and parking, as well as curb and gutter and bike lanes on both sides of the road. The core project section also includes some modification to our parking lot out at the Birchinger Center here to maximize parking space as well. So this is the cross-section visual of what the core section will look like. Again, you can see the 5-foot sidewalk, 4.5-foot concrete terrace, and the brick paver accents with the parking lanes and the travel lanes and bike accommodations. Our last project section is the North Tap project section that runs from County Highway E to Church Street. This includes urbanizing the highway on the west side of the road up to Harbor Heights and the east side of the road up to Church Street by constructing a 5-foot sidewalk and a 6-foot green terrace. Also has bike lanes in this section, street lighting, and again, utility replacement or relocation. And again, the same cross section for the South Tap section and the North Tap section here. Just want to quickly touch on the project purpose and priorities. So the overarching goal of this project is to replace and enhance our aging and deteriorating infrastructure. And then we have some other priorities that are just as important, which include safety, walkability, connectivity, improving parking, and aesthetic. All right, now we're gonna, I'll turn it over to our WPS partners and Mike Simon to go over specific timelines for the utility piece of the project as well as construction.
Me first. All right. Let's see if I can have one plug in.
Yeah.
Here, let me yell there.
Let's advance them. Back it in the forward button.
Forward button. Perfect, all right. Well, good evening, Ben Rich, which, on the team before, so project supervisor from WPS for the project. I'm by no means the brains or anything of it, I'm just trying to coordinate everything from our side on the WPS side. So the burial project, as was talked about, I don't have any slides in here about segment 1 and 2, because those are kind of already underway. The segment 1 part or segment 1 is the north side of town, right? I think. segment
Yep.
one? Yeah, well, the north side of town, that one you probably already noticed as you were driving by, we are already digging holes on that one for relocating some of those poles. There's also one other additional pole that's not part of this, but it's a reject program. So there's one additional pole outside of the corp, or of the segment 1 project that's getting replaced. Means really nothing to you guys, but there's just one more pole because it was lumped in with our reject pole, which is something totally different. And then segment 2, some of the tree trimming has already started on that one. So you probably noticed that some of the trees gone, especially if they were your own trees. I don't know whose they were. But those were cleared already for some of that segment 2 portion, and those holes will be getting dug here very shortly as well. And everybody knows the location. That's a very general slide, but a lot of information, a lot of bullet points here. I'll try to hit on them. So at a high level, what the new underground electric system will consist of is going to be what's called a 4-wire system. We'll have a 3-phase and a single phase going through. It's just going to help improve reliability a little bit if something happens to one versus the other, and then also a little easier to serve everybody on those 2 different circuits. With that underground install, approximately 23 pad wall transformers, 9 junctions and 6 poles for that core project area. So this is outside of that segment 1 and 2. The removal of our overhead, we're removing 41 poles, about 3,500 feet of overhead wire and 24 transformers. So a lot of those wires, that's not only just ours, but also the communications, that's another big part, which I don't think there's anybody here tonight for communications. But those will be coming down as well. And then the Harbor School Road project. So that's another one. If anybody drove down Harbor School Road lately, you'll see that there's some new poles going up, some new holes in the ground and everything there. One of the things to also help improve the reliability of the new underground going in. Now, underground, as we all know, is more reliable in storms. But anytime you actually try to fix underground from a utility perspective, that takes longer than fixing anything that's overhead. So in order to help improve switching and reliability, we extended also going down Harbor School Road over to the next road over, which I can never remember the name of that road, to the east. What's that?
Heritage Lake.
Heritage Lake. Yes, Heritage Lake. Thank you. We're extending the 3-phase circuit there to allow for any switching in the future. So if something does happen in part of the core project, we can switch it around and get people back on, especially anybody north of here, because it's more or less a radial feed kind of going north. And that'll help improve some of the reliability as this goes underground in order to serve that in the future, if there is anything that occurs. Our construction schedule for segment 1 and 2 on Harbor School Road has already started, but for that core project, and again, this is approximate because there's a lot of other things that still need to fall into place. It is going to be around that January 2nd, beginning of the year, through about that May 1st. And there's a lot of variables that go into that schedule, of course. Communications is one, and then a lot of other stuff, weather, materials. We can get all of our electric stuff done, but then we still need the communication companies to get all their cutovers and that done before we can remove all the overhead poles and actually be done with our quote unquote portion of the project. So some cleanup, some work may go to Memorial Weekend. Hopefully nothing will go that late or farther beyond, because we definitely want to be out of the way of the road project and the rest of that as soon as we can. So it's definitely a coordination, not nightmare, but fun anyway for it, right, Mike? If we can start earlier, we might. What's that?
I said, don't say that word.
Well, gotta keep it real sometimes, right? If we can start earlier, we will. Permits will be valid for that. And that'll just help us get done earlier and get out of the way of some of the other road projects. A little bit about the construction items. So a lot of our road crossing, which is not too many, maybe a dozen-ish or so, because of, everybody knows the soil type around here, right? We don't have nice sand or even clay or anything like that, right? It's a lot of rock. So that's a lot of harder construction for any of the digging that we're gonna do. So a lot of our crossings, and even when we're going parallel with the roads, a lot of it's probably gonna be open cut. So it's gonna be open trench that whole way for all the conduits that we're putting in. So again, we're putting in 4 conduits for the WPS side, plus some streetlight conduits for the village, plus all the communication conduits, which I don't know the full numbers yet, but there's gonna be a lot of conduits in there in that trench we gotta do, or that we gotta open up. So it is gonna be open cut, which means open trench. There'll be barricades, there'll be fencing up, all of that as much as possible, especially if anything's left open overnight, so nobody's working. But as far as the travel lanes, for much of it, only one travel lane will be available probably, especially when we're doing any of the crossings. So there will be flaggers and all of that to make sure that traffic can go back and forth. But as anybody in construction asks, please use any of the detours as much as possible, even if you're just going over to Church Street or whatever it is during the construction project. The road will be closed for DOT, but it still will have a lane of travel at least open as much as possible. As far as any other construction items to note, planned outages, so anybody that's along this that's getting cut over to a new system, there's gonna be at least one planned outage to your residence, business, or whatever it might be, when we cut over from the old to the new. Before even that happens, cutting or energizing the new system and some of the switching that might have to occur in there, there is a possibility of a system type outage, which would be for a larger area, as well. So, for any of you that's actually directly impacted, there for sure will be one, there could be two planned outages, I'll put it that way, 2 planned outages for that residence and or that business. So I just kind of want to make everybody aware that at this point that there will be, and most of those outages, generally 2 to 4 hours, all depends what really has to happen. It depends on how many services are off the transformer, what the scenario is, there's a lot of things that go into it. But generally 2 to 4, can go faster, can take longer, again, it all matters what gets ran into at that location. You will get notified of the planned outage at least a day ahead of time, more if possible. But sometimes if there's a bad weather day, because it's working with electricity, doesn't mix well with rain like days like today. So if there is a weather day or something, it might push that one back, and it might either push the rest back, or the notification for the next one might not be quite as long, just because they try to build in a little bit of wiggle room there. Notifications will either directly knock on your doors and or talk to the customers directly, talk to you guys directly. Or if it's gonna be a larger actual system planned outage for a bunch of houses or residences at once or businesses, then we might use one of our automated dialers. In which case, here's kind of a plug. Your accounts that you have with WPS, the phone number that you have listed as the primary phone number on that account is the one that's gonna get the phone call. As far as the notification for the planned outage. So make sure you have that updated. If you have your email listed as your primary phone or primary contact, the notification system doesn't send out emails, it only sends out phone calls, so you actually won't get a phone call. So just kind of letting you know with that, neighbors talk, whatever it might be, if you get a planned outage, talk to your neighbor or anything like that. If you didn't get one, that might be the reason why. So if you have your email again as your primary mode of contact for WPS in your profile, you won't get that phone call. So I just want to make sure that everybody's aware of that.
Do we still put door hangers if the residents aren't home?
Yes, yep, for sure. Yeah, the knocking on the door and that, if you're not home, you will get a door hanger, any of that. It will have the information of the outage date and time, approximately how long it'll be. A lot of times there will be a backup date and it will be listed on that door hanger. But of course we try not to have that so that we can keep going through the project. Otherwise, it's another one of those scheduling nightmares of one changes, all of a sudden you're changing the next 5 as well, so.
Ben, can I interject?
Yeah, go for it.
The front doors, those door hangers, because we don't always know if you enter in around by the back of the garage. We don't have to be that intrusive to the property, be it front door, be it repairs. Please check there also.
And the last bullet on this one is just due to the soil type being lots of rock. We're expecting to be a lot of jackhammering that's gonna go on. It's gonna be loud, it's gonna cause vibrations in the ground, any of that kind of stuff. So just wanted to be open and honest right from the beginning that it, of course, is gonna, it's construction. So there is gonna be that going on. Just some quick pictures. You've probably seen these already. As far as what some of the equipment looks like, if you drive up and down Door County and look at some of the other villages and towns up there, you'll see all this stuff along. Anybody else that's gone from overhead to underground. As far as pad mount single phase, top left picture, Single phase junction right next to it, in second from the top left. Down at the bottom is a bunch of pedestals in there, WPS electric. And then the communication pedestals besides, landscaping not included. That's if you so choose, we don't do that. These are some pictures from some nicer areas. And then on the right-hand side, the top and bottom one are what, of course, your underground meter pedestals will look like. And Mike from Action Electric is doing all of those. I believe that's still going on, so he should be in contact with all you guys ready, and Ken over there, talk with you guys about all the locations and all that good stuff and how it's gonna go, so. Hopefully you're well aware of all that, right? And that's it for the WPS. At this time. Okay, questions at the end?
Yes. Careful the courts. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
now Mike Simon is gonna walk us through, the village's construction.
Here on the screen here, we have a summary of the major milestones for this project. One that's not on there right now is the first milestone is that advertisement for the tap and the lighting project in the core. First ad is on Friday, so we're opening bids on November 16th. Usually takes a little bit of time. Once the project is let, there's an approval process. We have to go through the DOT and those has approved the bids as well, and then we can move on to the construction phase. For this project, part of the complexity of it with the funding is that there's actually 3 separate contracts we're letting on this project with 3 separate bids. The tap, the core, and then the lighting for the core. The village's projects basically start at the edge of the travel lanes and go out towards the right of way. Edge of the travel lanes out towards the right of way. There's a 4th project in there that the DOT has, where they're gonna be milling and resurfacing the 2 travel lanes down the middle. So all those pictures that Megan was showing you is the finished product. But the village's responsibility from the travel lane out to the right of way. So bike lanes, curb and gutter, parking lanes, sidewalk lighting, that's what the village's project is. Okay, the village's project, the TAP project is gonna start on January 2nd. The first task is to install the detour route. So WPS can begin their work, as well as the contractor starting their work. The only thing with the lighting contract that's happening up front, probably in January, is the removal of the existing street lights in the village, down the main street. Those will all be coming out, and in the meantime, WPS will be installing temporary lighting on existing utility poles at intersections. So there will be light, it will be reduced from where it is now, but there will be light downtown. And those obviously will stay in place until the poles are removed. Okay, the next milestone that we have here is, I think exactly, while one of the first things the TAP is going to be doing is the storm sewer. That's the biggest part of this project. And that's where you can get the most production in the wintertime. You know, the wintertime construction is not conducive to curb and gutter and paving and that type of thing. So the storm sewers ought to be the first actions taking place, both north and south of the village. It's all new storm sewer system, the entire route. Then in January, be the end of January, January 25th is a tentative bid date for the core project. With the starting date for that probably being end of February or the very beginning of March. So during this time, WPS will be getting out in front of the road project, so we can, the road contractor will be able to get in there and get some of his work done. In the core project, there's minimal storm sewer in the core project. It's just replacing manholes, moving inlets back, doing some repairs of the existing system. That's what the main part of the underground work is in the core. Most of the work in the core in the spring is going to be the work by WPS. Then on May 24th, that's the first deadline for removing all construction activities from Highway 42. The detour comes down at that point for the summer season. So all the lanes of traffic will be open at that time. We have up here June 2024, some work with flagging. That'll depend on where we end up with
on May 24th. The contractor for the village has to get all the curb and gutter in and patch this, all the asphalt up, paving the parking lanes, paving the storm sewer trenches, getting that all done so we can open it up to traffic. Now, there's work behind the sidewalk that needs to be done too. So we want to get we want to get at least temporary sidewalk back in by Memorial Day. That's the plan. With all the work happening down there one time, with WPS being down there, the village's contractors, 3 separate contractors being down there. It's going to be chaotic. I guess is not a nightmare, just chaotic.
Organized, yeah.
There you go. Okay, and then so we are gonna have in probably the first week of June, maybe the second week, we're gonna allow the contractor to do some work behind the curb if needed, if he didn't get it done in time, to get all that temporary sidewalk back in. And also be some temporary lighting as well, I'll get into in a second. Then starting after Labor Day, they're gonna be out, gonna come back in and do construction without a detour. They can use flagging to keep the road open to at least one lane of traffic in both directions. So from that date until October 21st, they're gonna be allowed to, during the weekdays, have the flaggers out there. On weekends, the DOT is requiring that they not be out there. So there won't be any work occurring on the weekends during that time frame. Then the October 21st deadline, that is, takes into account 2 festivals, the Village's Pumpkin Patch Fest and the Cedar Bay's Fall Fest. So that's where those dates come from. And from that point on, after 21st, they're allowed to close the road again, similar to the spring, with a full detour. So they'll be able to try to get as much production as they can. Then in the spring of 2025, the remaining work will be cleanup work for the other projects, as well as the beginning of the village's landscaping project. So we'll get into that a little bit more in the next slide. So the work that's occurring to begin with, as I mentioned before, curb and gutter storm sewer, all the way through the tap in the core, the entire 1.5 miles. Has to be done by Memorial Day. We're going to have the concrete bases and conduit installed for permanent lighting in the spring as well. And the intent is to transfer the existing lighting, whatever they can, onto the new bases. So we have some lighting during the summer months. With delays and getting materials, lighting is usually something that takes a long lead time. So chance of them having the new lighting available installed by Memorial Day is pretty much 0. The lighting in the tap should be okay for the fall, and we're hoping that the lighting will be available for the core in the fall as well. If not, we'll just have to keep the temporary lighting there longer. So paving the side streets, again, the trenches and the parking lanes. Then in the fall of 24, complete the initial concrete, the permanent sidewalk, the tree grades, installation of the new street lighting, whenever that arrives, final pavement marking, and installation of the new traffic control signs. And I left out an item in the spring, before we open up the traffic, the road back up to traffic with the detour off, we'll have to get signing and temporary signing, temporary marking back up, probably reinstalling the existing signs and putting in temporary pavement marking. I'm going to do the bottom here first. The DOT's project is the milling resurfacing of Highway 42. It starts south of Fish Creek, south of the village. It goes all the way up to Fish Creek. So what's going through the village is a very small portion of that project. It's over 7 miles, that project. And right now their schedule is spring or fall of 2024. And that's based on how our project is coming along. So we've been working very closely with the DOT on this project. Their project was originally supposed to be done, I think, in 2019, and they've been delaying that work so the village can get their improvements in. So when everything's said and done, it'll be a new asphalt pavement all the way through the village, instead of being, you know, a patch job type of thing. And then in the spring of 25, again, the completion of restoration, which stands, you know, the seeding and stuff will probably be happening late fall of 2024. So I'm gonna have to come back in and make sure everything is growing okay, and basically clean up any work that doesn't get done in the fall. And then the village will have a separate contract for installing new trees and other landscaping through the village. Just a word of caution, I guess, is that there's a lot of work happening in a short amount of time with 4 different road construction projects and the WPS project. And this is, a lot of the work is happening in the winter, so, you know, pray for a good winter, I guess.
Anybody that wants to help move snow out of our way, welcome to do it.
It is mine.
Yeah, I can do it.
Yeah, sure. So, the village has been planning for this project for a while. And reconstructing Church Street was a big component of this project, getting so there's a place for people to park and sidewalk connections down to Highway 42. So during construction on 42, any on-street parking 42 has been pretty much gone. So you'll have to park on the side streets. Other alternatives are on taking South Trail, the Highway G. There's parking on G and Dock Road. So that's how this project is all set up. And maybe you can talk about your coordination with the business association.
Yeah, I'll get into that later.
Sure.
Yep, we can probably. Just move on.
Sure. This is a detailed map of the detour for the project. It's going to be Country Highway I to 57 to V to A, then to double V. And again, what the detour is Highway 42 through traffic. That's what's intended to be. Highway 42 through the village is open for local access. So a little bit, I'll get into the special provision. We'll talk about what local access means. But we went over the timelines for the detours already and when they can be in place. But and we'll get into signing and all that other stuff here in a minute too.
Okay, so as you all saw, the detour is quite a ways out of the village. That has to do with there being a state highway, and we have to accommodate all types of traffic, whether that be just you and me traveling in our cars or trucking traffic, which is subject to weight restrictions. So the only roads that aren't subject to weight restrictions are county and state roads, and that is why the DOT requires the official detour to be county and state roads. But of course, we have a lot of other accessible routes through the village through construction. And we worked with the Egg Harbor Business Association to put together the map here. We did have some copies in the back. This is a preliminary map to get something put together for tonight. But there will be some revisions coming, and that QR code in the corner doesn't exist yet. So if you try to scan that, it's not gonna work. But we will have updated copies. They'll be posted to the website. They'll be available for pickup here. We'll have them at remote locations outside of the village, like the Carlsville gas station and other areas for people to pick up. It'll be included in the Egg Harbor Business Association brochure, and of course posted online. So there'll be a lot of ways to get access to this map and be able to share it as well. I want to go into a little bit of details on the routes that we've called out. I'm sure a lot of you in this room and joining us are familiar with them. But just to quickly review, we have also indicated what kind of construction interference you will experience while traveling along some of these routes. So the first, and they're color coded with the map if you have one in front of you. So the yellow route is County Highway T to Heritage Lake Road to County Highway EE. This would have absolutely no construction interference. So you would not hit the construction zone while taking that route. The next is Harbor School Road to Heritage Lake to County Highway E. This has minimal construction interference, as of course there's construction up to Harbor School and up to County Highway E on the north side. The next being Harbor School Road to Church Street to State Highway 42, again, minimal construction interference. And then one route that Mike previously mentioned that isn't yet highlighted on the map, but will be, is South Trail to County Highway G to Dock Road to White Cliff to State Highway 42. So if you're familiar with the village and you're traveling through there, typically there's gates on Dock Road that are open in the winter. Likely to have them closed when the marina is open, which is usual case, but we would have those open and that would be an alternate route, especially if you live in Point Beach and you're heading north. That's a great way to avoid the construction zone. As Mike mentioned, we have some sidewalk connections that provide lateral connections to downtown from Church Street. And we have a lot of public parking areas that will be available, which include Church Street, Market Street, the Village View parking lot, which we did some upgrades to in coordination with our Church Street project to maximize parking there. The Crest Pavilion parking lot, Orchard Road, parking lot here at the Berchinger Center, County Highway G, Dock Road, and the Marina parking lot are all open and available for parking. Signage, so we definitely recognize that the detour is quite a ways out of the village, so we will be working with the Egg Harbor Business Association and the Wisconsin DOT to put together some open for business signage along the detour route, help people understand that they can still get in and around the village. We'll be putting multiple signs along that route and then within the construction zone as well. So still working on the final details of that. This signage is subject to DOT guidelines and does require a permit application to be filed with them. So we'll work out those details and get that signage in place. Again, in partnership with our business association, so we'll be very conscious of highlighting the businesses and the access. One other thing that the Egg Harbor Business Association is looking into, not sure if this will be a possibility or not, but if there's any available billboard space, maybe having a billboard developed, letting people know that they can get in and around the village during construction. All right, now we'll get into property accessibility and other special provisions. I will hand it back to Mike.
Okay, as we mentioned, 42 will be open to local access. That means access to driveways, access to commercial entrances, access to side streets. With access doesn't mean everyone's gonna stop what they're doing and allow you to just drive through into your driveway. That's not what it means. I mean, you will have access to it. Sometimes you'll have to take, let's say the project is closed at the south end of the project, putting in a manhole or something, taking up the whole road. You can still get to your driveway by taking one of the alternative routes that Megan talked about. Everyone's individual residential driveway will be allowed to be closed for a total of 7 days. It's not consecutive days. It could be broken up. So there's different operations. There's concrete curb and gutter, there's sidewalk, and there's the driveway itself. So we've got items in the contract for high early strength concrete to minimize the amount of time that the driveway has to be closed. And when it is closed, they have to give you 24 hours notice. It's going to happen. And there's going to be a place there need to allow you to park on the opposite side of the street. So it's not going to be able to be parking on Church Street overnight, that type of thing. You'll still have access, close access to your home. Driveways. I mean, one more thing about driveways, the residential driveways. So just because they can completely close it for 7 days. Now, it may be something happening where they're putting storm sewer right in front of your house. They got to trench through and install the storm sewer, that type of thing. You know, that's not really part of the closure. They're just working in the general area and be inconvenienced for a little bit. Commercial driveways, they're required to maintain access to all businesses at all times. And to do that, they're going to construct the driveways in halves. One half at a time, you'll always have access to a commercial driveway. If you have more than one access to your property, they just have to maintain access to one of them. And when it comes to paving driveways in half, it can be a hassle for the contractor, or I shouldn't say a hassle, just it's not the best for construction purposes. So they may be contacting you, they come up and ask you if on a particular day or week that you may not need full access to that driveway, they may be talking to you individually and to see if you want to just close it and get it done all at one time instead of having constructed in half. But that's up to the contractor. It's means and methods sort of issue. Mail delivery and coordination. Maybe you want to take this?
Yeah.
Since we had recent changes.
Yeah, so I have been working with our local post office staff, Mandy, specifically, and Tom. And just talking to them about what they think might work best for mail delivery while we're under construction. So they have asked that those of you with mailboxes within the construction zone, just stop by the post office to discuss the options in terms of mail delivery with you. There are a few options available to you, so they would like to discuss those with you and see what might work best between the relationship with your mailbox and the post office. So stop by and talk to either Mandy or Tom. They're well aware of the project, well aware of the project zones. So they'll know, they'll probably be waiting for you to come in and speak to them. So go and see them for more information on that. Your mailboxes will be removed prior to construction by the contractor. They will put them on your property. And then after construction is completed, they will reinstall the mailboxes in the original locations in accordance with the requirements by the U.S. Postal Service and the village. So they will take care of removing and reinstalling. So the only thing that your responsibility is as a mailbox owner is to stop by Mandy or Tom and discuss your options with them and get that set up prior to construction.
Pedestrian access, one of the DOT requirements for Highway 42 is that you have, wherever there's existing sidewalk on a highway, you have to maintain pedestrian access. So through all the way, while starting at the cemetery, basically going north through the village, there's sidewalk up to the village cafe. So there'll be sidewalk access all the way through, either on existing or temporary sidewalk. You know, be either it can be any type of hard surface that it's maintained on. It could be a rubber mat that could be plowed and shoveled. It can be temporary concrete, temporary asphalt type of thing. So they have to maintain access at all times. That's going to require like a lot of signage, sidewalk being detoured, and then just it'll be like traffic control for people is what it's going to be. Fire address and fire address sign locations. All the fire number signs are going to be taken by the contractor and moved outside the disturbance limit. So it's still going to be in front of your house, so we can see where it is. And then after construction, they'll come back and move them back to closer to the right of way. School bus stops. How many school bus stops are there?
2.
2 on 42, and Meg's gonna be talking with the school district to make sure they're aware of this and maybe come up with alternative locations to pick up the kids. Survey monuments, this always comes up during construction. Your survey monuments are probably gonna be disturbed. Most of these have been located where they could be located and are on our plans or on the right-of-way plan. Before construction, the contractor is gonna have to take another look, see if everything's been located. And then after construction, after it's done, the man will come back and set it back, those points back in on behalf of the village. So that's always a contention. People see the right-of-way markers being moved, property owners being moved. So they will be reset in the same location where they are. There won't be any detailed property surveys, just go right back where they were found. Other private property infrastructure, there's sanitary laterals, even water main laterals unused. They're going to a lot of these properties. They're shown on the plans. There's items in the contract for adjusting these. Village staff come out and mark those for the contractor prior to construction. So that'll all be taken care of as part of the work. Snow removal. The county is going to maintain the travel lanes as they do now. And a private contractor does the parking lanes for the village. And the village does the sidewalks themselves as well. During construction, if you're in an active construction zone, the contractor will be responsible for maintaining access to your driveway. So the snowplows aren't going to go through barricades or barrels to plow it out, but the contractor will have to do it. He'll have to follow the village's ordinance, which is anytime there's more than 2 inches of snow, once it gets over accumulation of 2, and within 24 hours after the completion of snow event, they'll have to be taking care of the snow. This says taken care of right now. And Garbage collection, recycle collections, that'll be maintained throughout. Contractor will be responsible for working with those collection people to find out where's the logical place for everyone to put their receptacles.
All right, so we shared a lot of information with you tonight. So just want to go over again where you can find this information after tonight, and that we will have a meeting recording of this meeting and the presentation materials available on the village website, again, specifically on the State Highway 42 page. And then more than willing to have you stop in the village office and talk to me if you have any questions, or send me an email, give me a call, anything like that. We're here to answer any questions or visit the village website. And then a little bit more information on where you can get more information, or how you'll be able to get more information as we approach construction and as we're moving through construction. So a couple of components of that. First of all, the construction contract will require the contractor to conduct meetings with local officials, property owners, business owners along the route to discuss the project schedule and access during construction. The first meeting has to be held at least 10 days prior to them starting construction in early 2024. So that will be the first meeting. And then they will have to have the same type of meeting before they resume construction in September of 2024. So that'll be an opportunity for those of you along the construction route to come in and sit down directly with the contractor. And if you have any specific concerns at that time, we can talk through them then. Also, we included in the contract that village staff have a regular monthly progress meeting with our contractors. This way we can get up-to-date updates on the project schedule, status of operation, any coordination needs, any access needs. So we will have monthly meetings with the contractor to get those updates. And then what we will do is take the notes from those meetings and do a blog style update on the village webpage, the State Highway 42 the village webpage, so that everybody has that information and you can track how construction progress is going as we move month to month through the construction progress. So when you're on the village webpage, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, there's a number of icons that you can click on. So this is the State Highway 42 project icon. Just wanted to show you that so that it's easy. You can find information. All right, so that is the end of our presentation. We will get into questions here in a minute. Again, if you're joining us virtually, please use the raise hand function or the chat function if you're able. If you're having a hard time with that, you can unmute yourself and ask to be called on, but we ask, just to kind of keep order that you try to use the chat or raise hand feature. Again, there's my email address. If you have any follow-up questions after tonight, feel free to give me a call or stop by. And then again, any specific property concerns or questions you have, feel free to stop Mike or myself or John or WPS if it's a question in that regard, or Tom Wolf if it's a tree specific question, and we'll help you out. Again, if you don't have time to stick around, feel free to give us a call, stop by, send us an email. So anybody have questions here in this room? Oh, and then before we get into it, I will repeat the question just so those virtually can hear everybody, because I can't zoom a microphone around tonight. Unfortunately, we're plugged in. So, all right, we'll take a question here.
Just a quick question, if you're gonna be putting notifications on your Facebook for the village as well.
Yeah, that's a great idea. We will do that.
What's the question?
So the question was if we would be posting the monthly updates on Facebook as well, and we will plan on doing that. And probably the business association will send those out as well if you're a business owner. Karen?
Do you anticipate any need for blasting or not that?
Okay, the question was if we anticipate any need for blasting. Mike? Potentially.
Well, the first person you run into it is friends here at WPS. There's a lot of rock in there that I don't think you're planning on blasting.
No, from WPS perspective, we were not planning on blasting. It would either be rock stalling, rock pouring, or
If you would need to, would nearby places be notified?
definitely yes.
Okay,
From a WPS perspective, 99% sure you won't be doing any blasting.
Okay, so just to clarify,
We don't do that.
just to clarify for those joining us virtually, the question was if there's any blasting anticipated. Mike referred that to WPS. Their answer was that they don't anticipate any blasting. They anticipate using other methods to get through the rock. But Property owners will be notified by WPS if they need to encounter blasting. Mike had an additional comment on that before we move on.
Flashing is allowed in our spec, and it's a means and methods situation, the contractor can do it. We did that on Church Street, I don't think there was any negative effects of that. It's not an uncommon thing to happen, but it is, if they feel that's what needs to be done to do the work.
And I do want to point out, new storm sewer is only going in the tap sections, not the core. So there won't be any blasting in the downtown corridor. That's just repairing the existing storm sewer infrastructure. So from the storm sewer work perspective, there wouldn't be any blasting in the core. So, Luke?
Yeah, just for the safety of people's electronics, yeah, the Wisconsin public had mentioned something about turning powers off and on, a couple different times. Is there any risk in how will people be made aware of this for things like toasters, microwaves, television, computers? Most every electronic item in your home has a chip that can be damaged by power surges. Is there any chance that people would have power surges in their home while this project is going on, and how would that be handled?
Sure. So the question for those joining us virtually was about power surges in correlation with the outages that may be experienced through WPS, and what kind of notification property owners will get in terms of that. Ben's coming up to answer the question for us. Thank you.
Do you want to repeat it? My answer?
No, this is fantastic. Yes.
To this. So as far as power surges, because of the project, there is no more of a risk than any other day. For any sort of a power surge, anything like that. As far as any power surge and everything from an official standpoint and all the rest of it, the electricity that we provide is all under requirements under the PSC commission as far as the voltage fluctuations and all the rest like that. I don't want to get overly technical here, but if you're very concerned about power surges for any of your devices, then we always recommend having some sort of UPS, uninterruptible power supply that'll even out those surges, things like that, to protect any of those sensitive electronics that you might have. That is always our standard company policy. That's the policy of all electric utility companies and through the PSC as well. So because of this project, no, we do not anticipate anything outside the norm. Yep, you bet.
I have a question for UPS.
Oh,
I thought I heard when you spoke earlier that that second level of what you're doing phase wise, you wrote, or you stated that all sewer system will be all replaced the entire length.
Sewer? No, I didn't say anything about the sewer systems.
No?
No.
Great.
Electric is doing nothing but sewers. No,
Okay,
sewer is not us.
so who said something about the sewers?
the sewer laterals?
I just have sewers.
Sure.
You
So
were
storm
speaking
sewer,
at the time. So.
sure. So storm
No,
sewer.
Mike was speaking.
Okay, so storm sewers there'll be new storm sewer installed in the tap sections,
Yeah.
the north and south, and then there may have to be modifications made to private sewer laterals just to move them out of the way. So that won't have to happen for every property. It'll be specific property to property. So just depending on the location of the sewer lateral.
All right, and then that big project down by the beach.
Yeah.
Can you just talk a little bit more about that whole drainage thing again?
Yeah, so the project down at the beach is our main lift station. And that is for the sanitary sewer. So we have an existing lift station down at the beach. That's kind of right in the center of the beach now. And that new facility down there is replacing that main lift station. So we added some capacity to our wet well, which basically lets us collect material there to be filtered through the system at a later time. And that is a separate project from the highway project, but it is going on right now. It is on schedule to be completed this spring. So that's another one of our capital projects going on. And that existing lift station in the middle of the beach will eventually be deconstructed and that will be eliminated and we'll have more open space down there. So it's great. Erin.
What kind of interruption to our sewer is there going to be during that?
Question is, what kind of interruption will there be to private sewer laterals during any of these adjustments? I would guess none, but I don't know.
Please go right, there won't be any.
Okay,
But with it, like Megan mentioned, there. Everything is buried, obviously, so you don't know exactly where everything is. So we've got in our contract that in order, if, let's say there's a conflict between the new storm sewer and the sanitary lateral, we'll make adjustments to that sanitary lateral to make sure we get everything through. So if there's any disruption to your service, the contractor will be contacting you before he does that.
How much notice?
I would say at least a minimum of 24 is what is typical.
Is there a limit on how long, like you have for driveways and stuff, how much?
There's not, because we're not anticipating issues.
Okay.
But of course, we'll try to keep it to a minimum, and, Bert doesn't like storm sewer issues, so I'm sure he'll be there and advocating for everyone as well.
Rental.
Yeah, oh, yeah, sure. Mhm. Yeah, Anne right
Oh,
here.
just quick question. It's just regarding the trees. I suppose this is for Tom, but I was wondering, we have a couple of trees that we're hopeful that they will survive the construction, but now what do we need to look for if they're not going to survive, or what would be the length of time?
Sure, so Tom will be directly involved in the construction process.
Okay.
And helping us track those. I would, if you wanna just maybe
Just-
speak to Tom
yeah.
after.
Okay,
Okay, sure. And in the back there,
Yeah, I recall that the focus of the village in developing its plan for the project was to influence the DOT to reduce the speed limit to the core of the city to 25 miles an hour. What is the of that?
sure. So the question for those joining us virtually was, the status on of a potential influence by the village on reducing the speed limit throughout the village. So the village, as our main thoroughfare is a state highway, we do not have control over the speed limit. It is set by the DOT. These improvements that we're putting in should organically help reduce speeds throughout the village. So what we will do is, once construction is completed, we will request that the DOT conduct a speed survey. Sorry, I've done a lot of talking in the last day and a half. And that data hopefully will give them the information they need to reduce the speed limit. It's kind of an interesting situation in how they conduct those surveys and the data that they rely on to reduce the speed limit. We will request that they do that after we have these improvements in place. And that is the status of that. So unfortunately, you know, it'll be till end of construction before we'll request that. We need to have the improvements in place before we do that, but we have full intentions of doing that because we are aware that it is a concern of everyone's that we don't have control over. So that's the status of that. Yes,
Karen,
that's okay.
what was the update then on the double the lights building and the curvature and the line of sight?
Sure, so the line of sight around that building will be improved. Double Delight, which is now Door County Massage, is an encroachment into the right of way. So we have worked privately with the property owner to have them make adjustments to their building. Their porch will be coming off in the coming weeks, so you'll probably see some construction there, and that will help improve the sightlines there.
Well, the building will stay.
The building will stay. The portion, there's a portion of the building that encroaches in the right of way that will stay, but the porch will come off. The village did entertain a purchase of that property earlier this year. It just didn't work out, unfortunately. Any other questions in here? Yeah, Aaron.
The road's gonna close again in fall of 2024. You anticipate it being closed that entire winter?
Nope, it would be closed starting October 21st, which is the Monday after Fall Fest, until work is done, ideally, or winter weather doesn't allow operations, because at that point, we're gonna be restricted by weather.
The actual, right now, the contract calls for them to take it off at Thanksgiving.
Oh, good, okay.
So then, Thanksgiving. Al,
That storm sewer ditch that runs on the north side of my property. When that was built, probably in the 40s or 30s or whatever, it was about 10 times more water going down there. And it's also uphill. If you get back by Mark and Cambria Miller, that this action goes uphill, solid rock. And there's water standing in that ditch all the time, which where summer is real good for mosquitoes. Now you're talking about making more storm sewers. Is that gonna, some of that gonna go in there? I mean, I think that ditch ought to be done all a little bit or something.
improved. Sure, so the question was about the existing stormwater ditch that is located at the intersection, that would be the west side of the
Right
street.
across from Harvard School. Road.
Right across from Harbor School Road, that's a fantastic way to describe it, on the west side of the road. That is Al's property there, and what will be done in terms of managing the stormwater in that area.
Whatever stormwater drainage is going to that location now will continue to go that way.
I know it. Are you gonna come and take it off my lawn? What I'm telling you is the ditch ain't big enough. It was built in the 1930s or 40s. Now you're collecting all the water from Harvard School Road, from the Catholic Church parking lot, from, well, Church Street now has that retention pond, so that helps. But, and there's some coming from probably like from Hatch Distilling, that runs that way. So the volume of water that's gonna go down that ditch is many times more than what it was ever built for. You get a real strong rain, when you get 3-4 inches of rain, and, well, Cambria can tell you that their building damn near washed away. I mean, there's just so much more water, but nobody has ever, you need to go in there with a hammer and pound it out so that it goes downhill. Water don't run uphill. That's what we're trying to do right now. That's holding it back.
Sure. Well, we are making storm sewer improvements, and Cambria is one of our village board members and is obviously well aware of these issues. So I think we'll maybe take a closer look at that, but it doesn't sound like the volume of water is changing. But there will be improvements made to the storm water system.
The biggest problem is you can't scratch it down. It was just ground or whatever. You go into a backhoe and clean it out, but it's back where Cambria calls in there, that's solid rock. Well, by my place, it's down as far as it can go. So now actually it runs uphill a little bit. When there's a lot of water, of course, it's low.
Sure. We can definitely take a closer look at that, Al. See what
Well,
we
it's
can do.
filling up with trees and stuff too. We cleaned out again.
Okay, I'll get Public Works on it. Take a look. Anybody else here in the room with us? Anybody virtually? Anybody virtually wanting to ask a question or, looks like there is a comment here. That's good. Oh, that's you. That's you writing. That's you chatting. Okay. I'm gonna just stop my share here and see if there's any.
Is there a hand in Jim and Jenny?
If there's anybody virtually that would like to make a comment, if we're not seeing you, just go ahead and unmute.
Hi, you guys. It's Jim Jerzak down here in Green Bay. We just got a place up in Egg Harbor, so we're excited about this project. We were just wondering about the what they're going to plant in the terrace. You know, is it just going to be grass that people will be responsible for cutting, or could they do something environmentally better, like ground cover or fescue or something like that?
Great question, thank you. Yes, so the Parks and Public Works Committee has had discussion on the green terrace, and that is why it was labeled as green terrace and not grass terrace, because we are investigating options for a no-mow fescue or a micro clover, which would eliminate the need for that to be mowed. So that hasn't quite been determined yet, but it is something that the Parks and Public Works Committee is aware of, and we will be making final selection on that in the coming months, I'm sure. Again, final landscaping won't go in until spring of 25. So we do have some time to work out those final details, but definitely the committee is aware that we want to try to avoid the need of mowing in those green terrace areas. Angela?
Can you clarify who will maintain that mowing in the terrace?
Yeah, so if there would be mowing needed in the terrace, it would be the property owner's responsibility to take care of that. However, again, the goal is to eliminate that need by going with material that doesn't require mowing.
Okay.
The no-mow was very successful, talking about the no-mow lawn and fescues, which are native. Once it's established, you're gonna you get it, as you get the weed control, it does have to be mowed a couple times, and leaves cannot be left on it in the winter, it'll kill it.
Okay.
It also has to be irrigated, but this year we suffered a drought, a mini drought, you're gonna see the effects on the lawn are not gonna be good, but I've used it successfully, it's very good, looks really, really good, but it does have to be mowed a couple of times,
Mhm.
not real sure, it can leave them long.
Yeah, and that kind of establishing mowing would be something
Yeah.
either the village would take care of or we would contract for. Just to make sure it's done appropriately when we go with something like that. So, sounds like Tom has a lot of good information for us on whichever material we select. So definitely more information to come on that. Is there? What?
I think that's the most.
Oh, okay. Is there anyone else virtually with a question for us? Either raise your hand or go ahead and unmute.
Megan, hi, it's Megan. Sorry to ask one more question, but we had a big thing and when we did a road construction in Hobart near our house, there was a lot of talk about lighting and they wanted the lighting directed downward instead of diffusely throughout the sky. It really turned out really great. Have they talked about what type of lighting they're gonna be recommending, or is that too early for that?
Absolutely. So we have a downturn gooseneck type style, street light in the downtown core, well, and all of our street lighting actually throughout the village. And the exact same style street light will be used, along State Highway 42. So the style of street light will not change. I think the heights vary between the tap and the core sections. But the style of light itself, is exactly what's out there today.
All right, thank you.
Clarence?
Are you gonna space those lights about twice as far as what they are on Church Street? Because when you go down Church Street at night, the whole street is lit up.
Sure. So, given that, so the question was, the spacing on the street lighting. Given that State Highway 42 is a state highway, we will have to meet the standards of the Wisconsin DOT. So I don't know exactly how they will be spaced, probably more similar to Church Street than not, to be honest with you. Somebody else have a comment virtually or question, sorry?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead. Can you state your name for us, just, you know?
Ann Lays, 7945 Highway 42. And Megan, I had spoken to you, I think, when this was first in the preliminary stages, as far as being street improvements. And one of the things that I was curious about was, considering that this is a summer home type of touristy area, a lot of us are not staying up there over the winter months. And I had indicated that since we were not there, unable to shovel these sidewalks, how was that going to be handled? And you mentioned that the city, not the city, the village would be doing the plowing. And I'm wondering if that's still something that is in the plans where they're going to be maintaining, clearing the sidewalks from snow throughout the winter season.
That's correct. The village takes care of clearing our sidewalks now, largely because of the seasonality of our municipality. And that will continue to be the case. Our Public Works Department did just purchase a new piece of equipment last year in order to increase efficiency, and our new sidewalks and the placement of them will further increase efficiency. There'll be less for them to navigate in between and move around. So the plan is to have our Public Works team continue to take care of snow removal on the sidewalks.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Luke?
Yeah, it's just in reference to that snow, a follow-up on that. We've now taken the available property right after the buildings themselves, leaving no place to put the snow. And people like myself who shovel their own driveway are now going to be competing with at least 15 more feet of additional snow once you create this 66 feet of concrete and whatever. How are you going to provide that we don't do like in the past when we had the space? We dealt with the lights, porch, and other areas throughout town. Casey's, many of the buildings were with 5-foot walls of snow on the buildings themselves. How are you going to accommodate getting rid of this snow? What are you going to do to make the quality of for the property owners decent in regard to now that you have all this extra snow? and where are you gonna put it? How are you gonna deal with that?
Sure, so the snow storage will be accommodated via the terrace area, not on private property. And then what our team does now and what they will do in the future is when we have large amounts of snow, they actually go and remove it via our dump trucks and move it to the public workshop area. So they do remove it once we get a lot of snow. And the new piece of machinery that we have actually, if they need to, or if there is an area of concern, can actually blow snow directly into the back of a dump truck. So you do have some opportunity to increase the efficiency and as well as improve the snow removal process than what we have now. So.
That'd be good, thank you.
What's the final decision on the it corner in front of Greens and Grains in the left turn lane? Will that plan be on the website?
Yep, we will have our project plans on the website, so you can take a look at that. There was some parking reincorporated into that area.
And what about the overall landscaping of the sidewalks in front of all the stores and you know, the type of tree and how the benches and all that will be set up?
Yep, so that's all available on the website. We don't have that level of detail here today, but the tree plan was gone into in detail on our January meeting that we had earlier this year, and that presentation is still available on the website, has all the details on the types of street trees. In terms of some of the other landscaping, perennials and things like that, those quite haven't been determined yet, just because we do have some time. But there are some landscaping pockets incorporated throughout the corridor, and you can see that on the plans online as well, kind of where those are. And then the streetscaping elements, which are the bench areas, the potted plants and garbage receptacles and stuff like that. We do have some placeholders incorporated into the plan that you can see online. The final placement of those, we're still working with, we're gonna be acquiring some, or working with property owners to place those. So we're still working through that process, because again, that will be a 2025 element of the project, so. Any other questions from anybody here in the room or virtual? Yeah.
Just a comment, Megan?
Yeah.
If folks are not at their vacation home, it's even more important that, like Ben said, that they call into WPS, make sure they have the proper phone number listed on their accounts, because that's what we're gonna use to contact.
So for those joining us virtually, the comment was if you have a seasonal property up here, business or residence, that you may not be at quite frequently during construction, it's even more important that you reach out to WPS and get an up-to-date phone number associated with your account, so I can make sure to get that notification on any service interruption. So please take care of that and make sure that you get notified appropriately of any service interruption in terms of your electricity. All right. Well, thanks again for everybody that joined us, either in person or virtually tonight. Again, you know where to find me. I think I told you enough, but I'm here in the office Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. Feel free to stop by, give me a call, send me an email. And if you have any specific questions, then you have some available time tonight, you can stop and talk to me or Mike or John Heller or Tom or WPS or anybody that's here to answer your questions. So thanks everybody and have a good night.